if you're sick of hearing us harp on about Squid Game, we've got some sour news for you, Jack. Now, we haven't covered Squid Game on this channel before, but with the prospect of putting other characters in a hypothetical Squid Game, we decided to try one for ourselves. And what better series to start this crossover with than one of the biggest crossovers in video game history? I'm Kifinosi with 1UP Binge, and we're going to figure out which Smash Bros. Hero would survive the Squid Game. First things first, we have to narrow down this list a bit. While the actual Squid Game does deal with hundreds of players itself, we have to keep this video to a reasonable length. As such, we'll only be looking at the most prominent member for each universe within Smash Bros. For the purposes of this list. And only those who are both human or human-like, and are specific non-avatar characters. With that said, that narrows down our cast to these 30 characters. Mario, Link, Samus, Kirby, Fox, Captain Falcon, Ness, Popo, Marth, Pit, Wario, Olimar, Snake, Sonic, Little Mac, Wii Fit Trainer, Shulk, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Ryu, Cloud, Bayonetta, Simon, Min Min, Joker, Luminary, Banjo, Terry, Kazuya, and Sora. This does leave out a few key universes such as Pokemon and Donkey Kong, but this is the best we can do. Additionally, to keep things fair and balanced, each character will be coming in completely unarmed. This means they won't have any weapons, powers, upgrades, allies, celestial guidance, demonic partners, and so on, leaving them only with their own inherent skills to carry them. With all that out of the way, let's get to our first game, that of course being Red Light Green Light. Red Light Green Light is all about speed and listening skills. All of our characters are physically fit enough to cross the line in the time allotted, which means that survival in this game comes down to two factors: the ability to follow instructions and the ability to maintain calm under pressure. If a character is too headstrong to follow the rules or is not able to keep from flying into a panic, then they will certainly get themselves killed. Some of the standouts in this particular game include Samus, who is calm and level-headed enough to keep her cool through the death around her due to her hardened exterior. Snake is also a hardened warrior who could easily keep calm, and he also has the ability to follow instructions as a soldier of war. Sonic is fast enough to cross the finish line before even the first red light, so he passes this one without any issue whatsoever. Then Wii Fit Trainer has both the physical and mental fortitude to keep full control of their body, even in stressful situations. And Shulk is calculative and observant enough to be able to predict the red light being called, even without the vision ability. Now, a definite one to die here would be Banjo. Unlike the others, Banjo is more of a coward and an unwilling hero, meaning that he's the most likely one to panic after the first death. While we're sad to see him go this early, it's highly unlikely that he would have made it past the next stage anyway. On the other end of the spectrum, the only other character to die in this game would be Kazuya. This is because he's completely unwilling to listen to anyone, believing himself to be the only one who deserves to be calling the shots. Additionally, his overconfidence would also leave him believing himself to be untouchable, which would earn himself a quick bullet in and of itself. With only 2 characters dying in the first round, we move on to the next round, the Honeycomb. The Honeycomb challenge requires both the steady hand to trace out the shape of the candy, and the patience to slowly cut out the shape without breaking it. If a character lacks either of these traits, then they won't be likely to pass this game. Those who would pass the game include Link, whose swordsmanship skills provide him a very steady hand to go with his calm and patient demeanor. For the same reasons, Marth also passes this game, being even more patient due to his experiences in leadership. Snake is also incredibly patient, being able to remain hidden for long periods of time without moving. He also has a very steady hand due to this, along with his marksmanship skills. Finally, Mega Man has the steadiest hands in the room, being a robot with incredible precision, along with having the patience to cut out the piece steadily. The first to die in this game would have to be Pit. While he is fairly steady-handed, he's not the most precise due to most of his shots being homing shots with a wider margin of error. Additionally, he's not the most patient, with him having a lot of the vices of a young teenager getting in the way of rational thought. These factors add up to the angel breaking the candy fairly quickly. Speaking of quick, Sonic also has to go here. When your catchphrase is, "Gotta go fast," patience is just about the last thing you'd associate with that character. Not only would Sonic break the candy right away, but he would likely actually do so even before Pit. So at the very least, he can take solace in dying just as fast as he lived. Oddly enough, we also have to eliminate Shulk here. While he does have a fairly steady hand, the combination of impatience and hyperfixation gives him a unique handicap. Shulk would likely spend the majority of his time over analyzing the candy, trying to find the most efficient way of cutting out the candy, only to fail due to running out of time. Not the greatest way to go out, but it is a fitting way for him to go. Finally, Bayonetta also dies here. Again, Bayonetta has quite a steady hand due to her marksmanship, but her patience is virtually non-existent. She's shown to get annoyed very quickly by others and is often prone to shooting first and asking questions later. This means that she unfortunately can't go any further. With 24 of our original 30 cutting the candy, we move on, fittingly enough, to the Midnight Brawl. While not an official round, the Midnight Brawl is still a significant enough event for us to count it. In this free-for-all, one needs either the strength and skill necessary to take on multiple foes at once, or to have the intelligence and cleverness to be able to hide and wait it out. Right off the bat, Link would be able to survive, being able to take on multiple foes at once, no problem. Samus can actually go both ways. She can either stand her ground and fight, or she can sneak away and hide. Either way, she'll easily survive. Marth is always fighting vastly outnumbered battles, so he easily makes it past this one. Snake is a master of stealth, so he also survives. Cloud is incredibly strong and skilled at fighting alone, giving a significant edge to him in this battle. Finally, we also have to give any character originating from a fighting game a pass, since they obviously have the skills to survive here. Surprisingly enough, we actually see quite a few characters die here, starting shockingly with Kirby. While the meme is that Kirby is the strongest character in the multiverse, without his copy ability, he's fairly harmless. This, plus his lack of noteworthy intelligence, make the pink puffball a hard sell to survive this one. Similarly, we also have to see Ness go here. Without his psi powers, Ness is just an ordinary kid. He does have some skill with the baseball bat, but that too is against the rules, meaning that it's extremely unlikely for him to make it out of this one alive. The ice climber, Popo, would also die here. Not only is he not a fighter, but without both the hammer and the assistance from Nana, Popo is also completely defenseless. If this took place in an area where he could climb to safety, he might have been able to survive, but in the barracks, there's unfortunately no such safe haven for him. We also have to eliminate Olimar here. If he were actual size, he might have been able to hide pretty effectively. However, to scale with the other characters, Olimar's bulbous proportions make him a bit too easy of a target. Additionally, it should be noted that oxygen is highly toxic to him, meaning that one good hit to his helmet is all it would take to kill the captain. The Wii Fit trainer also has to go here. They're strong and healthy, but not so much that they could survive here. Since they're not a fighter in the least, they might be able to hide, but we don't feel that it's likely enough to give them a pass here. Finally, we'll also be losing our oldest character here, Pac-Man. Again, he's not so much of a fighter, and his large spherical body would be difficult for him to hide, so he'd probably get killed here pretty quickly. With a little over half of our original 30 left after the brawl, we return to our regularly scheduled program with a little tug-of-war. While we won't be assigning characters to specific teams, teamwork is a factor in this game. This means that characters will be judged on their ability to work in a team, as well as their strength. If a character is strong but can't work on a team, then their survivability goes down significantly. Characters who pass this game easily include Marth, who is an active team player and is charismatic enough to properly lead his team to victory. Wario is a surprisingly good team player as well, and has the strength to pull his weight and then some. Cloud may not be the best team player, but he is cooperative enough, and has more than enough strength to survive regardless. The Luminary is also a great team player, being able to work with his team to their maximum potential. Finally, Sora is basically the definition of teamwork, so he will also be able to pass here. The first one to die in this round would be the main man himself, Mario. While Mario has survived this far by coasting on his average abilities, where he falls short is in the strength department. Due to only being a middling level team player, this pudgy little plumber just doesn't have what it takes to go any further. One we are definitely sad to see go here would have to be Samus. Without her power suit, Samus's strength is only above average, meaning her inability to work in a team really comes back to haunt her. She really deserved better than this. Finally, we also see that Captain Falcon's gonna fall here. He's fairly strong for a racer, but Captain Falcon is also a recluse with a paranoid streak, meaning that he doesn't work well with others at all. For that reason, we can't let him cross the finish line. Surprisingly, we also have to say goodbye to Min Min here. It's hard to tell whether Min Min's extendable arms are against the rules since they're a part of her physiology, but that doesn't even really matter in this case. Without them, she's not strong enough to survive, and with them, they would be ineffective at pulling the rope, meaning that she unfortunately dies regardless. Lastly, we're going to eliminate Joker here. This is because we aren't actually judging Joker, but rather Ren Amamiya, since the Joker persona is against our rules. And as Ren, he's just an ordinary high school student, meaning that he simply isn't strong enough to pass. We now have only 13 characters left as we move on to our next round, a nice relaxing game of marbles. There are many ways to play this one out, but the easiest and most consistent one by far comes down to manipulation. If a character is able to manipulate someone into giving them their marbles, then they have a high chance to survive. Conversely, if a character is easily manipulated, then they're unlikely to make it past this one. For that reason, Marth again would do pretty well, as he is fairly familiar with manipulation thanks to his fiancée. Wario is also fairly manipulative, as he has a few tricks up his sleeve to tilt things in his favor. Finally, Snake is also a master of subterfuge, and would likely be able to trick others while avoiding being tricked himself. Our first death in this round would have to be Link. He's a pretty straightforward guy, and since Link canonically almost never talks, he can't be considered manipulative. He isn't the easiest to manipulate, but being unable to do that to others himself causes him to fall a bit short. Mega Man also dies here, though not for the reasons you might expect. While he's intelligent and also adaptable enough to be able to manipulate others, the fact of the matter is that Mega Man is a robot, bound by Asimov's laws of robotics. While he was able to survive the previous round due to the team effort providing a convenient loophole, this one requires you to personally send another to their death, something which his programming literally prevents him from doing. As such, Mega Man would willingly give up his marbles without a fight, which at least earns him an honorable death, so we'll give him credit for going out on the moral high ground. We're also going to have to eliminate Simon here. Like Link, Simon also falls under the category of not being able to manipulate others due to being very simple. This is mainly due to his dealing centrally with inhuman monsters rather than with people, as well as being a character who rarely speaks. Similar to the above, the Luminary also falls here. Truly, being a silent protagonist is essentially a death sentence in this game, and the Luminary is no exception. Not only are they unable to manipulate, but they're also fairly easily manipulated themselves, as they're generally one step behind their enemies. Terry would also have to go down here. Terry is fairly simple-minded, preferring to let his fists do the talking rather than thinking things through. As such, we feel that it would be pretty easy to trick him into losing his marbles. There is the possibility that his inherent friendliness could be used to manipulate others, though we feel like he would be manipulated first. Finally, we have to say that Sora has to go. Of the remaining characters, Sora is the only one who could really be considered gullible, with his naivete and positivity leaving him to be easily tricked. Additionally, he's far too straightforward to manipulate others, meaning that he just can't go any further. From Unlucky 13 down to Lucky 7, we come to our penultimate round with the Glass Stepping Stones. This is the toughest game to figure out, as it primarily is reliant on luck. However, there are two factors which can potentially allow a character to pass this game. Those being the very niche possibility of being able to spot the tempered glass panes, or, more likely, the humility required to pick a lower number. Our first death this round has to come from Fox. While not an egomaniac in the traditional sense, he does try to take a commanding role, trying to fill in the role left by his father. This gives him one of the larger egos among the remaining characters, which would certainly cause him to fall fairly quickly. We also have to eliminate Wario next. Out of all of our surviving characters, Wario easily has the largest ego in the room, being the only character who would likely fight for number 1. This means that he's pretty much guaranteed to die in this one. By process of elimination, Little Mac would be next to go. Mac doesn't have the biggest ego, but he's still very proud, wanting to claim glory in spite of his small size. Because of this, we can see him taking a higher number than average, which is still enough for us to say that he dies regardless. Ryu is up next, or rather, down next. Again, this is mainly by process of elimination, as he's not the most egotistical person left, and would likely try to choose a number in the middle instead. However, even that's likely too high for this game, so he would still end up falling despite this. Finally, we have to say goodbye to Cloud here. Having an above-average ego, Cloud is basically doomed in this particular group, meaning that he would end up with one of the higher numbers, and would likely be among the first to go. And with that, we've come to our final round, that, of course, being the titular Squid Game. Compared to the other rounds, this is the most simple and straightforward. The winner of this game comes down almost exclusively to one-on-one combat. There's also the matter of following the rules of the game, though given that we've come this far, that's not really a problem. The two that have survived this long are Marth and Snake, which shouldn't be too surprising since one or both of them have excelled in every game thus far. They're both strong, highly skilled, very intelligent, and fairly adaptable, making them very good contenders in this game. Additionally, both of them are war veterans, meaning that they're trained in combat and would be able to do well in the final round. It's a close match, closer than any other Squid Game we've done thus far, but in the end, the one who falls in this round would have to be Snake. In the end, this comes down to who would win in a fight, and at the end of the day, Snake is more of an assassin than a warrior. This means that in a head-on fight with even footing, Snake simply wouldn't be able to hold his own against anyone with significant combat training. He would be able to put up a good fight, the guy knows how to fight, but ultimately he falls just shy of taking the gold this time. So yeah, Marth ends up winning the Squid Game, as if he wasn't enough of a Marthy stew already. Listen, we really wanted to give this one to someone else, but no other character was simply as well-rounded as him. He's level-headed, patient, strong, team-oriented, intelligent, humble, and a skilled fighter. And those just happen to be the exact qualities that make for an excellent Squid Game player, easily earning Marth the grand prize. But what do you think? Do you agree with our list? If you need a one-up, make sure to check out more of our gaming videos and binge our Squid Game playlist. We'll have a Smash Bros. Villains version of this video up very soon. Thanks for watching.